In these preview demos, we're going to be showing you some of the new features that we're introducing in Avanti version 2.5. In this video, I'll be showing you a new feature which has been highly requested, which is to be able to control financial periods and dates. So we'll get started and we'll go into company preferences, which we can select using the settings section in the navigator, or we can select it from the file menu and select company preferences. And then we select the financial calendar on the left hand side, and we can see all of our periods that we have set up in the software. And you'll notice that a lot of these periods have now got locks on, and that means that those periods are actually closed or locked, and that means that no one can enter any transactions into those periods. You won't be able to amend transactions in those periods or make any changes to transactions at all. So to lock a period, once you've done with it and you don't want anyone to make any changes, you can just double click it in the list. If you want to reopen a period, you can just double click it with the lock icon, or to close it we can just click the close period button there. And when we're done, we've just locked September 2012, we can click close and save, or save and close, sorry. So now that we've done that, we go in and try to create an invoice. And we'll put the date in for the date that we just closed, for the period that we just closed. So we'll say the 10th of the 9th 2012. And straight away we get an error message that says that the date's in the closed period and you should make sure you change it before you save. So we'll click OK. But we'll carry on regardless of that message there and just put an item on the invoice and try to save it. And again we get a message that says the date specified is in a closed period. So, and that applies everywhere that you try to put a transaction in, you simply won't be able to do it. And the same applies as well if you want to amend a transaction. So if we go into a customer history and we pick up a customer in a closed, an invoice in a closed period, right click and go to amend. Again we get a similar sort of message saying it's in a closed period and we can't amend it. And the same happens if we try to undo it. So as you can see, this gives you a lot more control over your financial periods and making sure that no one can enter a transaction by mistake into a closed period. Now if we go and create an invoice and we go to the date field, and let's say I want to put in the 10th of the 2nd, I want to put in 2013, but it's so easy to put in something like 2023, 2003, or even 2223. So what happens now is that when you actually press enter, you get a message that says this doesn't look quite right, are you sure this is what you want to do? And this is really useful because, as you know, if you put a transaction in such as that, you will find it very, very difficult to be able to see that in a transaction report because they're date sensitive. So that just gives you that little bit of control over the dates that you put in to make sure that you can't make mistakes. Now one last thing I wanted to show you is that you can now change the system date on the toolbar at the top here. Now this is really useful if, for example, you've got quite a backlog of transactions that you want to enter. They're on different dates going back a while, but you may have, say, 10 or 20 transactions to enter on a particular date. So all you need to do now is to change the date to the transaction that you want to enter, let's say the 12th of Feb, and when you go into any transaction screen you can see that the date is now set to that particular date. So rather than you having to go back and change the date every single time to the new date, it changes it for you, and then when you move on and ready to put in transactions for a different date, you just change it again. And like I say, this just makes it really, really simple if you've got a backlog of transactions. So keep checking back for more preview videos, and thanks for watching.